Hey friendlies, I have a real-time update for you today. I have some news that I want to share with you, and I've debated for quite a while whether how much I want to share with you, whether I want to share it with you. And in the end, I decided that I'm gonna share a health update with you because I think it's really important for people on the road or thinking about getting on the road to hear what my experience has been. So I have a new diagnosis that I'm going to talk to you about, but first I think it's really important to start at the beginning because otherwise you're going to have a lot of questions. So I'm in a hotel. We'll get to that in a minute. Uh, all right. I'm going to go back to, I've told you bits and pieces. I've never told you the whole story. And so, like I said, I think it's going to help some people because I've been hearing for a couple of years, people have asked me about traveling, about RV life or van life, if you've got health issues. I had never had health issues until the last couple of years. So I'm going to talk about my experience and what it's been like dealing with my health issues being a nomad in the hopes that it'll help you guys a little bit. There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to find your own. So let's start at the beginning. I have been a healthy person all my life. The first couple of years I hit the road, I never even had a cold. I've never had the flu. I've got a gut of steel. I mean, I've just never had any health problems. I had my tonsils out when I was 13. I mean, I'm a healthy person, even though, I've been overweight my whole life. My blood pressure is always good. Except when I was drinking, my sugar, I was pre-diabetes actually when I was drinking. But I quit drinking and lost a bunch of weight and cleared that up. So what happened? Okay, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, the winter before I was going to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, I went to my doctor. It was a new doctor I hadn't seen before in my hometown in Nevada. Partly to establish care and partly because I was like, hey, I'm going to hike and I want a physical to make sure I'm okay. I don't want anything to happen while I'm on the trail. So in the process of the physical and running all the blood work, we found that my white blood cell count was low. So reminder, this is, I guess, 3 years ago now. 2 years ago now. Oh my gosh, 2 years ago. And she was like, okay, it's not horribly low. It was like 3.5 when it was supposed to be like the low is 4.2. She said, I don't know if you were born that way. And everything else was perfect. My sugar is great. I wasn't even close. I mean, my sugar was great. My cholesterol was great. Everything else was completely healthy. I was completely healthy and I was feeling okay. So she was like, I don't know if that's just where you're at. So we'll test it again in a year. So I went about my year. I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. I ended up, being on the trail for 56 days. And in retrospect, now that I am having health issues, I wonder if part of the reason I struggled so much on the trail is because of this. I didn't have a lot of energy on the trail, and I wasn't there mentally like I was on the John Muir Trail. So I wonder now. And interestingly enough, right before I went on the Pacific Crest Trail, I got this tattoo, the mountains on my arm, which was my tribute to, there we go, yeah, which was my tribute to Capone, and it got a staph infection. So what it means if your white blood cell count is low, it means that your immune system is not as strong. So I've always counted on my immune system. So I got a staph infection and had to go to the urgent care to get a antibiotic to take care of it because it wouldn't take care of it on its own. I got a pretty bad staph infection. So now in retrospect, I'm looking back and I'm wondering if I was sick and didn't know it. Okay, so fast forward to last year. So I guess it's been 2 years since I first got the diagnosis that my white blood cell count was low. So last year, I went through the whole thing of huck dying, went to New Zealand, came back from New Zealand in February, got Sadie, and around March, I started having symptoms. I think, and I don't remember the exact chronology, but I think I went to my doctor to get the follow-up on my blood work And I don't know if I did that before I started having symptoms or after. I can't remember. But anyway, it went down. My white blood cell count went down to like 3.2. Not a lot, but enough. And at that time, I started having symptoms. And the symptoms were shortness of breath, crazy night sweats, tightness in my chest, shortness of breath, fatigue. Fatigue was the big one. That was the one that hit me immediately. I mean, like, I couldn't go out and walk a mile without being exhausted. And for somebody who enjoys hiking, walking at least a few miles every day, that was a lot. And I still struggle with that. So fatigue. I was having really weird symptoms too. So body aches was one of them. I was having earaches. I was having nausea. I was having stomach pains, a lot of headaches besides my migraines. I mean, there's a lot of really weird symptoms. So I went to my doctor. I got tested for COVID very early because the doctor was like, sounds like COVID. I got one of the first early rounds of COVID drive-through testing, the nose swab, and it came out negative. And my doctor was like, yeah, I don't believe that, and still to this day, everybody's like, that almost doesn't even count because it was early, it was drive-through, they were so inaccurate. And we tested for mono, we tested for Epstein-Barr, we tested for, I think, what else? One other thing, I think. And everything kept coming up negative. At first, she thought I had mono, and so I was like, yeah, I have mono. And there was confusion. She was not very communicative. She wasn't very good. She was like, yeah, you have mono. She gave me an antibiotic. And then later, she was like, oh, we didn't test you for mono. I'm like, no. So I tested for mono, and it was negative. So then we went down the path of a hematologist, and remember that flat tire I had in the desert and that meltdown? I had a meltdown. That was not a good day. I had the flat tire. At that point, my symptoms it was still early, so they were pretty much still constant having symptoms. So I went to the hematologist. Terrible, terrible. I waited 90 minutes to see him. He spent 10 minutes with me. He was dismissive. He talked over me. It was a horrible experience. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back. Screw him, and I'm not doing any of the tests because I don't need any of the tests because there's no cancer in my family. I'm not doing what he says. So eventually I got hooked up with a homeopathic doctor. And through the homeopathic, and this is like June, fast forward to June. So my symptoms were at this point kind of coming and going. I wasn't having the chronic fatigue. It was like I'd feel good for a day. I'd go for a 3-mile hike, and then I'd be in bed for 2 days. The tightness of the chest and the shortness of breath was coming and going. And I did eventually start to have pretty regular symptoms again. So I met with I had a new doctor. I switched doctors in Nevada and had a phone appointment with her, and she's like, you have COVID. And I'm like, yeah, it's what everybody's saying, but I tested negative. She's like, I don't care, you have COVID. And she said, the white blood cell count is a concern. Let's test it, because I was getting ready to leave at that point to go. And she's like, I'm not super concerned about it because 3.2 isn't horrible. And I don't know why she didn't want to see me. Well, COVID. People weren't, didn't want me in there because I thought I had COVID, I guess. So June, I had my first appointment with my homeopath. She tested my zinc and my vitamin A, which no other doctor had done, and they were both super low. And can be a problem for vegans, getting zinc and vitamin A. So she immediately put me on all kinds of immune support and zinc and A, and I felt great. I was like, woohoo, I'm healed, I'm better, I feel so good. And that lasted for like a few weeks, maybe a month. And then, so this is last June. And basically since then, I have good weeks and I have bad weeks. I have good days and I have bad days. And I'm sick and then I'm not. And I'm feeling really good and I go for a 3-mile hike and then I'm down literally for a couple of days. Or I feel good in the morning, and then by 3 o'clock, I'm not feeling very good. So the problem is though, it's been nothing like super bad. Like I'm never like, I would be in bed more actually if it wasn't for Sadie. She forces me to get up, but it's nothing like, I've never been like down and out. They're just subtle nagging symptoms. Like the shortness of breath. It's like, yeah, sometimes I have to do this. And, yeah, but then I do it and I'm okay. And it, lately I've been having to take ibuprofen because of the tightness in my chest and the pains in my chest. So that brings us to today. So we tested my white blood cell count again, and it's still at 3.2. So my white blood cell count, which means my immune system is still compromised, is still at 2. And within the last few weeks, my chest pains have been getting worse. My breathing has been getting worse. Little bit of a cough, but not horrible, and my energy has been horrible. And one day I get in the rig and I turn on the ignition and the fan is blowing and all this dust comes blowing out of my fan, and I'm like, I have valley fever. I know I have valley fever. And so I went and got tested for valley fever, and I have valley fever. So I have valley fever. And I was like, oh my God, thank God I have valley fever. And in case you don't know, valley fever is a fungus that grows in the dirt in mostly Arizona, southern Arizona, or Arizona and California, but it's also been found in Oregon and Washington. And this is why I thought it was really important to share this. So I was all excited. I'm like, I have valley fever. Thank God I have an answer. This is what's been wrong with me. Well, when they do the valley fever test, they do 2 different antibodies. You healthcare practitioners out there know the CCG, CCIG, whatever. I didn't, and I only saw that I was positive for valley fever, and I got all excited. I'm texting all my friends, like celebrating, I have valley fever. And then when I contacted my doctor, homeopath, and said, I have valley fever, what can we do? We scheduled an appointment. She said, send me the report. And it wasn't until I opened it up and expanded it that I noticed there were 2 different antibodies. I only tested positive for the recent antibody. The long-term antibody was negative. And she confirmed what I thought that meant, which means that I just got valley fever. It's not what I've had for the last year. She's like, no, you've had COVID. She's like, I know you don't want to believe it. Oh, also last June, when I first started working with her and we tested the zinc and everything, I did a COVID antibody test, and I tested negative. Back then in June, I tested negative for the COVID antibody test. So we were really just focused on getting my immune system healthy, trying to get the white blood cell count up, dealing with antioxidant, I did a cleanse and all kinds of stuff, and I would feel better for a while. So that's part of the reason I wanted to share this with you. So that's where I'm at right now. I am going on a antifungal. We went aggressive antifungal cleanse, and I thought it would be best to get off the road while I'm doing this. Part of it is because it's messy. I have to do a mustard plaster, which is mustard and flour, and so I had to go into town, and I've got all these. This is just like one. What is this? Desert willow. This is just like one of my tinctures that I'm taking 10 different things every day for antifungal, and then I'm also doing probiotics so that I don't get too much antifungal in my body so that I can remain balanced. But here's what was really disappointing with this whole thing. So the reason I have valley fever is because my immune system is still compromised, and we still don't know what is wrong with my immune system. And what she told me last year when I first started working with her is that we need to get my white blood cell counts up before we start talking about the possibility of it being the C word, cancer, and that was the hematologist. And that's been a struggle. So I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of beat up. I'm kind of beat down. I thought it would be best to just get a hotel while I'm at least doing this antifungal regime. It's been impossible to escape the dust. I'm doing laundry more than I've ever done it. I'm dusting and vacuuming, and it's just been impossible to get rid of the dust. So I thought it would be best just to get out of it for a while and stay in a hotel. I have been here a couple of days already. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. But my lesson, my moral here in telling you this is that I've taken my immune system for granted all of my life. And so when many of you have written to me and said, I have health issues, can I live in an RV? I've been like, kind of flippant, like, I don't know. And now that I'm experiencing it, my lesson is that if you have a compromised immune system, there are things that you could face out here that could challenge your health. The valley fever is very common. I know I've read in comments that other people have had it. Bob's dog Cody has it. Dogs can get it. Sadie digs in the dirt. She's going to have to get tested next, I know. But she's young, she's got a healthy immune system. And that's the thing, if my immune system were working properly, usually it's just a fungus. It comes in and your body works it out. My immune system is compromised, and so my body is not working it out. And so I have valley fever. My doctor also said that it could be also just that I have so much exposure to it, that even if my immune system were healthy, it's very possible I could have gotten it just because I'm exposed to it so much. And the more climate change we have, the drier the conditions. We've had no rain in the desert. None. I mean, this week, whatever, we got finally some rain and maybe even snow in some areas, but it's been a very, very dry winter in the desert so far. And the dust, I don't know if the dust is always this bad, but it seems really bad, or maybe it's just the areas that I'm traveling this year, and having a puppy that digs in the dirt and then sleeps with me. So, I mean, there's so much I've always taken for granted. I have a healthy immune system. I don't have to worry about a little bit of dirt. I don't have to worry about, a dog in my bed with a little bit of dirt. Well, apparently I do. And so the challenges that I have faced is, number one, I'm probably not getting tested. I'm not seeing doctors as much as I should because it's hard logistically in my travels. When I was in Pahrump for 6 months last year, or 4 months, or whatever it was easy to do because I was there, and because I had to get my doctor's appointments done. And but when you're traveling and you start feeling sick, the blood work is the easy part. I can just find a Quest Diagnostics and I can go and get the blood work done. But the lessons is, if you do have health issues, number one, you need to find an insurance that allows you to see a doctor anywhere in the country without it costing a fortune, because it's out of network. Boy, Medicare for all would be amazing, wouldn't it, for people like us, or for people who have health issues and need to see doctors anywhere and anytime. So that's a challenge. So when you do get a health plan, make sure you have a health plan that doesn't penalize you for out of network doctors, and you can see a doctor anywhere. And it really is easy out here. There's, even though I have work which structures my time, it's fluid. There's not a lot of structure, so it's really easy, at least for me, to kind of lose track of time. When I first saw my doctor, Jennifer, last year, she was like, okay, in 6 weeks we need to test everything again, and 6 months went by before I tested everything again. I don't know if I'm the only one that experiences that. And again, I've just never had health issues, and I'm not one to go to the doctor for every little thing. So that's been a challenge for me. But if you have an autoimmune disorder, you might really want to consider this lifestyle and what that might mean for you, especially if you want to move all the time. You're encountering different elements, different things in the air and in the dirt and in the whatever. If you're moving every 2 weeks, you're going to be exposed to different people and different stores, and I mean, and dumping your tanks, and there's all kinds of things that, like I said, I've always taken for granted, and that I haven't taken a breath, have I? I've just been talking for 18 minutes and breathe. This is a lot, and I've debated about sharing it just because I don't share everything. Some stuff I want to keep to myself and deal with, with my doctors and my close friends. But I just, again, thought I don't want anybody who has health issues to think, oh, everybody can go out there and and it's fine and it's easy and blah, blah, blah. Because now that I've experienced it, it's hard. And I've been here a couple of days. The last couple of days in my rig, out in the middle of nowhere by myself with my dog, and I'm feeling chest pains and I'm having a hard time breathing. You really start thinking about your lifestyle, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie. And I've said this before. RV living is not easy. Anybody who thinks it's easy, especially if you have to work, the traveling and the work, and I mean the stress alone can cause health issues if you don't already have them. It's a lot of stress. You know, most people have a sticks and bricks that they go home to every day, nice and comfortable. They don't have to think about where am I going to go next, or who's going to pull up next to me, or what's that guy over there doing with a gun and binoculars. And you know, that's really all been more heightened for me lately than it was in the beginning. Of course, in the beginning, it was exciting and it was fun, but I also had my full energy, and I haven't had that in over a year, maybe longer. I have not been my 100% self. I struggle with energy. I struggle with breathing quite regularly. And even over the summer, I remember in Colorado, I kept like going outside and, you know, going like this when I was trying to talk, especially because I talk fast and I forget to breathe. And I kept thinking, oh, you know, it's just the elevation. It's just the elevation. But I guess something's going on. And I'm not doing this video because I want sympathy. I don't want you to worry about me. I don't want any of that. I do just want to let you know this is a reality of being on the road. I'm 53 years old. Stuff's going to start breaking, you know, and I will find out what's going on with my white blood cell count. Hopefully with my homeopath, we can continue to work on it. But if you do have any autoimmune disorders, I just thought that this was something really important to share. The yellow valley fever, the fungus in the dirt, it gets in your lungs. So I've been working on that, trying to clear that up. The last 2 days and a half in the hotel, I was feeling better. Like yesterday, I was breathing good. I had no chest pains, but I'm feeling it a little bit again today. And the chest pains are just muscular, like inflammation in my chest. So I am also taking a break from a lot of my job, not making videos. I don't mind making videos. I like making videos, but I'm taking a break from all of the engagement. One of the reasons my channel has been as successful as it has is because of how much time and effort I put into engaging with you, my audience. And you know, I love engaging with you. I love that I've gotten to know you. I love hearing your stories and reading thousands of comments and emails every month. Tens of thousands. I read tens of thousands of comments and emails every month. Most of them are wonderful and supportive and kind, and you share your stories with me. But I think anybody maybe who understands a little bit about mental health knows that when I'm reading thousands of stories every month, you're holding all of that, you know, like my therapist says, I'm going to hold that for you. And for an introvert and someone like me to hold all of that, that's a lot to hold. So I need to pull back a little bit for now. So that's another reason I wanted to make this video. Don't worry about me if you don't see me commenting as much. And I want to thank my moderators and my assistants who have been helping me deal with some of the things about being a YouTube creator that are not fun to deal with. I have someone helping me now who has been taking care of some of the less desirable aspects of being a YouTube creator so that I'm shielded from it, which has been such a oh boy, such a good thing for me to be able to take care of some of the administrative and business and legal sides of my channel without having to expose me to the toxicity that goes into that. And so I really appreciate the help and the new moderators who are moderating comments so that I don't have to deal with that too. And so I just need a break, not from making videos, but I just need a break, I think, from some of the other aspects of being a YouTube creator, I guess. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I originally booked it for 4 nights. I might be here a little bit longer than that. Let's play it by ear. So if you have health issues, I hope that this was helpful in considering whether or not you want to live full-time in an RV. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm a fighter. I'm a survivor. No matter what's going on, I will overcome it. I guarantee it. And yeah, I think that's all. Sadie's doing good. We have a dog park a couple miles away, so unfortunately I can't walk to the dog park. um, um, but we drive to the dog park and she loves it. She ran and ran. Look at her. Can you see her? She did so much running at the dog park today. She does really, really well. I'm kind of surprised how well she does, considering I didn't get to socialize her as much as I thought. All right, I think I've covered everything. So I have valley fever and going through this homeopathic regime to get rid of the fungus in my lungs. And we're going to test everything again, everything in 6 weeks. My white blood cell count, I don't know that I'm going to test for COVID anymore. So the long hauler symptoms that I talked about before, still my homeopath and 3 other doctors that I've talked to over the last year all say I have COVID despite the negative test results I've had twice now. And again, this valley fever is a new virus or a new fungus that I have in my lungs according to my antibody test. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not an answer to what I've been dealing with for almost a year now. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, let me take a break. I'll see you on the other side. In the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. I'll see you soon.